Doreen Genther, and I'm a library assistant at the Collister branch of the Boise Public Libraries. And today I'm going to coach you through making a couple of beaded snowflakes. Really, I'm just going to show you the basics because this is going to take you a little longer than it probably looks like initially. Lots of little tiny beads, so a little bit more time for care. And speaking of care, my very first suggestion, you got a packet with a styrofoam ball and an envelope that has your corsage pins, and you also got a little container that has a whole bunch of beads in it. My very first suggestion is that you place them into a relatively shallow bowl, shallow so that you can get at it, but into a bowl so that you know where they are and they don't get away from you, because it would be very, very easy to lose actually most of them, but especially the glass seed beads because they're so tiny and they're clear. So having given you that warning, what I'll tell you is that it is a simple project. Time consuming, I think, a little bit, but pretty darn simple. You're going to take a corsage pin, there are 14 of them, and you will bead them all in the same way unless you're super, super crafty, careful, and want to figure out a different pattern for yourself. But as you can see, this isn't too bad looking of a snowflake. If you decided to do more of them, perhaps you would pick all kinds of different beads and really go wild. It would be a fun Christmas gift to maybe do in another season. It is after Christmas, of course, this year, but winter is still with us, so beaded snowflakes we will make. Okay, so in order to bead this, what you're going to do is take your corsage pin, one of your 14 that you've been given, and you're going to start with the little glass seed beads, and it's easiest, I think, to stab into your bowl and run it up the side of the edge here like that. It seems to make it easier to catch them. This actually works easier than how I did it when I did the first demonstration one. I knew I wanted you to get a shallow bowl, but I didn't follow my own advice at the time. I will tell you, it is good advice, I can tell. So, you get 2 of those clear ones on, you put a blue one on, and then you do one of these pearl beads. And the tiniest ones, those glass seed beads, are the most easy to lose and hardest to find, but not too bad. And then after you get those 5 and then your pearl, that's when you take that big clear faceted one and you put that on. And then what you do after that is you go backwards in the same direction. So you're going to put a pearl, another 2 glass seed beads, a blue seed bead, and 2 more glass seed beads. And then you're going to have something that looks like this. And at this point, I strongly encourage you to take your hot glue gun and drip a little bit of hot glue on the end of that. And that may be more than you want, what I just did there. You can always take some away. You don't want so much that you don't have enough pin left to be able to push it into your styrofoam ball, but you want enough there so that that's going to hold that in place, because you've got 13 more of these to do. I want to make sure it's back where it's supposed to be too. Once that glue cools off, it's not so hard to handle, but be careful not to burn yourself. But so this is pretty secure. And if you felt like it was too globby, you could cut a little away with an X-Acto knife or something, but honestly, this isn't going to show very much. And later, when you have all of those pins on and you're making sure they're going to stay in place, you're going to be adding enough other glue that it won't show. So do your next 13 and then forward from there. What I did when I was making this sample one was I stabbed them into a cork board reasonably close by, and then I glued them all at the same time after I had the hot glue heated up. I do believe that Elmer's glue would work for this, but it takes a lot longer to dry. I think it maybe would stay in place slightly better than the hot glue, but that's a judgment call and it might depend on what you have. Once you have all 14 of your little corsage pins with the beading on them, then you're just going to take your styrofoam ball, and what I did was I tried to evenly place them across from each other, and I didn't do any glue at this point, so I was pretty careful since I had them glued on the pins, but I set them all into there. And this is not as particular as I tend to be, and you'll have to decide how particular you want to be, but across, back and forth from every other one works fairly well. After you get quite a few on there, it starts to get slightly difficult to tell where things are, but you'll get it together and it'll be fine. I think this is a satisfactory outcome in my picky worldview. So what I would then encourage you to do is be lavish with your hot glue. I was pretty lavish because I thought, well, what's the matter with seeing more hot glue rather than a styrofoam ball? Really, it has a little bit more shine and looks a little bit more snowy if we see more of the glue. And in the moving of this little snowflake, we did have one of the pins come out, and as I suggested, beads went everywhere. So you will be happier with your end product, and it will last longer and serve you better long term if you do be generous with that gluing at the end. And then you just give it time to dry and you're good to go. If you want, you could use a fishing line because it's clear, or a little silver or gold or some, you could put some kind of string to attach it if you wanted to use it as a hanging ornament. You could put it on the tree. I think they would be kind of fun hanging in windows during the winter season. So, if you wanted to make more than the two that you've been given the materials for, you could have some fun doing a bunch of them and hang them in lots of windows. So I think that's the gist. Happy beading.